We've talked about how to use feedback loops to build habits in an instant, right? In the immediate moment, looking at a checklist on the wall, looking at the number of paper clips that you've moved across. These are habits that, in feedback loops that inform your action right now. But what about getting feedback on our long-term behaviors, right? On whether or not we're consistent over the long run. For that, we can also use a feedback loop, and I love using what I call the Seinfeld strategy to do this. So the story starts with Jerry Seinfeld, one of the most famous and popular comedians of his generation. And early on in his career, his show had been out maybe a season or two, and he's still doing stand-up comedy and going around. And he was performing at a comedy club, as the story goes, and there's this young comic named Brad Isaac who was opening for him that night. And Brad Isaac sees Seinfeld backstage and he says, Mr. Seinfeld, big fan, I'm wondering if you have any tips for a young comic. Seinfeld thinks for a second and looks at him and says, well, the secret to being better at comedy is to write better jokes, and the secret to writing better jokes is to write every day. So here's what I think you should do. Get this big wall calendar, right, where you can see every day mapped out on the wall or on the calendar throughout the year. And each day that you do your task of writing jokes for 5 or 10 or 15 minutes, I want you to take a Sharpie and put an X on that day, right? And he was like, in the beginning, you'll have 1 or 2 days, you might start and stop here and there, but eventually you're gonna get a little chain going, 5, 6, 7, 8 days in a row. And at this point, your only goal becomes to don't break the chain, right? It's not about how good or how bad the jokes are, how you feel about the jokes, whether it makes it into your show or not, whether you're, excited about what you came up with. It's just about not breaking the chain. And this concept of don't break the chain, it can be applied to all sorts of things, right? I've seen friends use these calendars for video production. So if they do their 30 minutes of video editing work each day, they get to put an X on the calendar. I've had other friends use it for exercise habits. So if they go to the gym and, stick with their workout on every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday, they put an X on the calendar and they just try to have those chains running all the way down, right? Every Monday, every Wednesday, every Friday. And whatever the habit is that you're trying to build, this type of feedback, it gives you a visual cue, a long-term motivator to see that on the wall and be able to look at the progress that you've made and whether that's been sustained over the long run. So I have a simple action for you on this one. Click on the link below this video and print out the Don't Break the Chain calendar. And then you can use that and set it up for whatever habit you're working on at the time. So go ahead and do that now, and I'll see you in the next video.